As I was working on this, I went off on a flight of fancy and started imagining, well, what if we took tenses out of our language? So there wasn't any past tense, no future tense. It's all just present tense. It's all just happening now, in the present, which is the only one of the three that does not ask for change. Because the rule in the present realm, of course, is, well, what is, is. And that's it. Complicated it is. It's what shows up. What's here. That's it. And don't worry. It's automatically going to change. And what it takes for that automatic change is simply accepting that that's what is. And if you want to really accelerate that process of growth, if you will, of evolution in the present moment, not only accept what's happening in the present moment, but accept that you actually had a hand in putting it there. That it's what you selected out of all those future probabilities, it's what you selected. Because it would most serve your growing, your ideals, the expression of your own talents and abilities. At this exact event, and the minute you accept it, even the painful ones, we automatically start moving. Automatically start growing into the next present. And I think one of the reasons we came here together in this realm, where we do have this tenseness, past, present, future, is because we wanted to learn that we get what we concentrate upon. That the conscious mind is so powerful that it's like the prow of the ship. It's the part of the being, the eternal self, that's actually stepping into the present moment at every new present moment. It's an amazingly courageous place to be. And each of us takes that for granted. We forget how amazing it is that we're in this place where we're always sailing into the future and experiencing the unknown. And really, we don't really know what's going to show up in the next moment. And at our best guesses and all of our attempts to anticipate all of the ways we can imagine probable futures, we still don't know, and we've got to take that next step. An amazingly courageous thing, this consciousness, and an incredibly powerful thing. Wherever we concentrate, whatever future probability we project our concentration on, it starts activating, it starts showing up. We often get very fascinated with those probabilities that look like worst-case scenario. We often get very fascinated with the images, what we imagine when we see ourselves as the victim. We have all sorts of media productions, like the news, that wants to position us as victims, and these outer circumstances are bearing down on us, and they've deprived us of our freedom of choice. And so now we must suffer through worst-case scenario. It's the assumption that's often made in our, and actually, you know, I recently finished a book. In fact, there are copies of it back on the table, a fiction book. And the trick with fiction is you have to set up conflict. You know, if I got a story with no conflict in it, nobody wants to hear it. It's like a selling mechanism. Conflict is a selling mechanism. In fact, we have presidential candidates who are experts at that. It's just going to go There's a part in the story, it's called Nandia's Copper, and there's a section in the story where she's working on a project and suddenly a spider appears, and this woman has a terror of spiders. Anybody here have terror? Anybody? Nobody. A great group, just you. She dives under a table to escape the spider and demands that it be killed. Of course, the guys would suggest, wait a minute, how about if you talk to the spider? Then a whole new doorway opens up. But of course, the thing is our imagination is so powerful. And when we're dealing with the future, of course, we have this huge, vast reservoir of fear, of future suffering. That's the one that really is the hook. Oh, but I can imagine this spider jumping on my arm, and it bites me, and then it's a necrotizing poison, and the arm starts falling off, and I can, oh my God. Forgetting that that's our imagination that we're using. And it's in the future. It's only one, probably. The spider could land on my shoulder, and I could learn how to say hello in spiderese. Spiderese. Sometimes people that we care about deeply are in troubled times, and we think it's an expression of love to dive in the middle of those troubles and take them on, rescue them from their troubles. Many years ago in Seattle, I decided I could no longer work in the corporate world, and I left and I went back to school and I studied counseling and natural healing and mediation. And it was suggested that my job was not to take on clients and fix their problems for them. And I thought, no problem. And I was working with people, and a few years into it, I noticed, why am I trying to fix people's problems? Because I noticed that after a session, I'd be feeling kind of heavy, weighted, not as though I was enlivened and as though this experience had been one that had nurtured my life, but that felt troubled. I noticed that I was trying to fix people's problems. And often people came to me with the notion that I was the person who was going to fix their problem. And the interesting thing is, I could fix their problem. I did that. But then the frustrating part was, after I fixed their problem, 2 or 3 weeks later they'd come back in for another session. And they'd tell me how they recreated their problem. What? We just fixed the problem, and you're not going to go out and create it up again? How dare you? I must not be doing my job. But that happened so consistently that then I learned that if I go out there and take away the trouble someone has created for themselves, they're going to go out and they're going to create it again. Because they put it there originally, because the walking through that particular issue was going to reveal something to their conscious mind that they wanted to learn. And if I take away the problem, they just got to go create it again. Well, then it turned out, I'm thinking about that. That doesn't sound like a very humane way to work with people. Oh, good, I'm going to double your work. How do you like that idea? You're going to pay me for it. What do you think? I don't know. I don't think I can sell that one too well. Now, some people would say, well, by reaching that conclusion that it's not too wise to go in and meddle in other people's problems seems like a very cold-hearted approach. And I don't mean it at all to be cold-hearted or not compassionate about people who are troubled. I'm a big advocate of when people are having troubles and they don't realize they've got a choice, that it might be useful to stick around and remind them they've got choices. I like that particular analogy of, if I run into If I'm going by a building and it's burning down, and there's somebody inside sleeping who doesn't know they're in this kind of danger, I'm not debating the matter. I'm going to run in, pick them up out of their bed, and run them out outside. Then if they decide they want to burn in the building, they can run back in. That's their choice. And normally we don't run into that situation too often. Because I'm very interested in being able to walk with someone through their troubles and remind them they do have the power to resolve it. They do have choices that actually can lift that burden of suffering. They can look at, are there ways they are blaming? Are there ways they are feeling sorry for themselves that are actually stalling that process of healing, that the event they put in their lives in the first place? The reason that was the reason they put the event in their lives. They wanted to grow through some limitation in their own thinking. Otherwise, we wouldn't create the trouble. Limitation. We imagine them. We imagine our limitations are so real. I had this great story. I had this great story in Seattle. One of the things I did was I led people in firewalks. And I did probably 50 or 60 firewalks. Very interesting process. And very real. It gets real. And one evening we were doing a firewalk, and a woman came up to me and said, I'm terrified, I want somebody to go with me. I said, I don't have a problem. I'll hold your hand. And we walked across the 800-degree coals, holding hands. And she was just thrilled at the experience and came back around, and it was like watching this. She said, now I got it. I can do it. Now she loved it. And the next day I talked to people about, hey, you know, often you're going to go out into your lives after you've done this experience, and people are going to try to dismiss it. Oh, no, you know, that's impossible to do, you know. It was because the grass was wet right at the end of the fire pit. That's why you didn't. Or they come up with all sorts of ways to dismiss your experience. And I just alerted people to the fact that when you go back into your life, you're going to want to share this experience, and people may want to dismiss it. Well, just remember, it's your choice what you want to buy. Just remember that wonderful affirmation, I only respond to constructive suggestions. That's a very helpful way of using your consciousness. On Wednesday that week, 3 days after the fire, or 4 days after the fireworks, I got a call from this woman who had walked. Carol was her name. I got a call from Carol. And she says, you're not going to believe this. I said, go ahead. She said, I went to work on Monday and I had to tell everybody. And there were so many people who said, that's impossible, man. Can't do it. Nah, didn't happen. Nah, they just like hypnotized you into thinking you were walking. You know, that was just an illusion. Those weren't 800-degree hot coals now. They did all that stuff, right? The way we dismiss them. And she said, and this morning, Wednesday morning, I woke up with blisters on my feet. Do you love that story? There's the power of imagination. It's so great, the power of the consciousness. And she gave me such a gift, because after that I wanted to go out and I wanted to lead walks across the cold concrete floor where at the end of it our feet are burned. It's really hot, it's really burning. You can do all that. Now I've never sold that. You know, that one's never happened. But we have the power to do it. Why did Stephen Hawking say, I wonder why we don't remember our future as well as we remember our past? What a lovely statement about who we really are. So I will leave you with that thought, and may you allow yourself to trust